We're now taking a short break on The Point, and when we come back, 2 Chinese vaccines make an appearance at CIFTIS. So is China ahead of its peers in producing COVID-19 vaccines? Welcome back. China International Fair for Trade and Services may be one of the biggest international trade fairs since the start of the COVID-19 era. But 2 booths have been generating much publicity. The China National Biotech Group and Sinovac booths are presenting their candidate vaccines at the fair. Now, Sinovac is already one of 4 Chinese companies to have begun phase 3 trials for their vaccines. Indeed, the 4 Chinese vaccine candidates represent half of all vaccines in development to reach phase 3 trials. But despite Chinese companies leading the fight against COVID-19, the U.S. Justice Department has accused China of trying to steal U.S. vaccine research. So why has a medical product become so politically charged? Is this safe? And can we give it a shot? To find out more about this, joining us in Shanghai, we have Professor Chen Hong from East China Normal University. And in Washington, D.C., we have Dr. Eric Ding, Senior Fellow at the Federation of American Scientists. Welcome to you both. So let me start with Professor Chen here. At CIFTIS, the China National Biotech Group and Sinovac Biotech unveiled their candidate vaccines at the opening ceremony. The 2 companies demonstrate the country's confidence in developing a safe and effective vaccine. But how soon can domestic vaccines be really rolled out? When can we see that shot in the arm?
Yes, I think actually altogether so far there are 4 vaccine candidates developed by Chinese developers, and all of those 4 candidates are actually already in their phase 3 trials, which is actually the last stage for their effectiveness to be tested. That is actually very important. So far, I think at least 2 of those candidates, that is to say, they are vaccines developed by CNBG and also, as you said, Sinovac, has been promising that actually they will be rolling out, put into markets, and also to be licensed and marketed by the end of this year. I think actually this is a very inspiring and promising news. In fact, actually, some of the vaccines are already being put into use among certain groups of people, such as customs officers and also healthcare workers, the military, and also it is said that actually the aviation personnel will also be using the vaccines. So shortly, I think actually the whole process will be proving the efficacy and also the duration of the efficacy. Of course, also the side effects of the vaccines. But at the end of the day, of course, all those side effects will be tested, and also adjustments will be made. So for me, actually, I do have my confidence in seeing the Chinese-made vaccines to be rolling out to market by the end of the year as promised.
Sounds encouraging. Sinovac has already kicked off phase 2 trials in Brazil and Indonesia outside of China. But Professor Chen, will these vaccines be applicable to patients in China and elsewhere?
I think actually at this stage, actually the people are concerned. The biggest concern for people is actually the mutation of the virus. Actually, so actually we do need to actually test the vaccine, among a large group of people, a wide range of people, also across a variety, of places and localities. So in other words, actually, those tests are not only happening in China but also around the world in a number of locations. That actually will be ensuring the efficacy to be applicable not only in China but also around the world. And the mutation is one of the most important concerns. But I think actually Dr. Chen Wei, the leading expert of infectious disease, actually she indicated quite clearly that actually the vaccine developed by her team will be fighting all mutations. So in other words, it is almost like the most efficacious vaccine to be used in this case. So in this case, I think actually definitely the vaccine that will be turning out to be effective among people in Indonesia and also Brazil will also be applicable for people in China and also in other parts of the world.
All right, and Dr. Ding, let me get your take on the vaccine development situation there in the States. I mean, the WHO head Tedros said that distribution of vaccines across the world is a global public good. China here promised in May to make its vaccines, once available, a public good as well. They are over in the United States. 3 firms, as we understand, AstraZeneca, Johnson & Johnson, and Moderna, have gotten federal funding for vaccine development. While AstraZeneca and Johnson & Johnson pledged to make a vaccine with no expectation of profit, Moderna has made no such promise and aims to make returns on its investments. Will we see a dilemma of public good and profit once different vaccines hit the market?
Yeah, the vaccine profit issue is semi-concerning. But at the beginning, they all pledged that they would not take any profit at the beginning. But down the road, all bets are off. But at least what they're advocating is we at least will ensure that the Americans will get it first. The Trump administration has, with its Warp Speed program, has taken, again, an American first approach, which is not the best idea because, by not joining the WHO consortium compact, COVAX, it's actually putting all of its eggs on its limited number of vaccine approaches, which it's fair and will likely turn out well, but it's just during this global pandemic, you putting all your eggs in one basket is not the best idea. And I think the profit thing down the road will be an issue, but I think at the beginning there will be many different vaccines available to the world that it shouldn't be a major issue.
And the U.S. Justice Department has accused China of using hackers to pursue American vaccine research. Why has the U.S. Justice Department accused of China of stealing vaccine data? Professor CHEN first.
Yeah, I think actually there's now discussions about the so-called vaccine nationalism. For some countries, people actually are still putting their own national interests first. But unlike for example like China, President Xi Jinping pledged quite solemnly at the World Health Assembly that actually the Chinese-made vaccine will be made into a global public good. But for people in the United States, they still pursue, as Eric said, a kind of like America first, doctrine that will actually putting them into locking them in a kind of like a Cold War mentality, a kind of competitive rivalry, and that actually will be inducing them to or constantly being suspicious of any conspiracy that can be happening.
And Dr. Ding, briefly, what do you think is happening here?
In certain ways, obviously Trump wants to take the credit for his vaccine, and I can see politically why, but obviously this is a pandemic. This is not the epidemic is not a national specific issue. So global cooperation needed. But at the same time, China, by rushing and approving the vaccine after just phase 2 results, actually scared the living daylights out of the world for a little bit because it basically approved the vaccine before any phase 3 results in actual showing efficacy in the field. And that is actually not a really good idea because, like Russia, again, rushing out to approve a vaccine, that actually scares a lot of the medical community, separate of any political issues. So again, China, by doing that, is also pursuing some China first nationalism mentality. So I think we should all calm down and focus on the science and phase 3 trials.
Focus on the science. We're going to leave it at that. We're running out of time. Thank you very much, Mr. Chen Hong from East China Normal University and Dr. Eric Ding from American Scientists Federation. That's going to do it for this edition of The Point. Thank you so much for watching, and bye for now.